Yo, what's up, incredible Earthlings? How are you doing today? Respect to yourself first for clicking this video. You see, you are yourself a wonderful creature. And for that, I welcome you to join me in spreading love, peace, forgiveness, good vibes, honesty. Thank you very much. And all good vibes of humanity to all the whole world. You do that by reacting together to different types of videos. Videos you don't want to miss out because they are very interesting and I'd love you to leave your comments. Kindly watch till the end and hit the like button. Straight out of Africa, I'm your host, Y311H-Man, with lots of good vibes. Let's dive in.
The number one asked question in the Christian community: what is the difference between Catholics and Orthodox Christians? The number one difference is the authority of the Pope. Catholics will emphasize the authority of the Pope in many things like faith and morals, oftentimes looking up to him for guidance. Orthodox Christians don't agree with that, and they operate on a more of a companionship between bishops. Number two, Catholics stand on the filioque way. In other words, Catholics believe that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son, while the Eastern Church, the Orthodox Church, believe that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father alone. Now, this is a little bit interesting. The Orthodox community stands on the belief that the original sin was an inheritance of the corrupted nature from Adam and Eve, while Catholics, on the other hand, emphasize the guilt from that sin. The Orthodox community places a lot of emphasis on iconography. They ask the saints to intercede for them. Orthodox Christians place a great emphasis on their icons when it comes to their worship and spirituality. Now, this is interesting. The Orthodox priest can find a wife and marry before his ordination, while Catholic priests take a vow of celibacy. In the Catholic community, the Pope is at the head, while the Orthodox community is more decentralized. Both communities have similarities when it comes to salvation, but there are differences in theological perspectives. The structure of how they pray is different. But it's very important that no matter what, we all realize that in heaven, there is no Catholic or Orthodox. There is only Christ.
Good vibes all the way, man. Good people of Earth. You are wonderful and loved, you see?
Alright, so I just saw what Vladimir Putin just dropped. I'm pretty new to religion, so I've been looking at things. I always thought he was black. I really did. So I told my buddy who has been in religion his entire life, super Christian, and he was like, oh yeah, you know, he was always kind of more black than white. And I was like, maybe he just doesn't get it. Like, if Jesus is black and David and, you know, all the other people are black, and black people have been enslaved by the white people for the last 200 years, and we've been lying to them about Jesus is black, not white. We completely lied about it and then enslaved them. Black people are gonna be pretty pissed. Rightfully so. I would be fucking mad too. So, what happens next? Obviously, they're gonna do some, you know, verification process on these paintings, but I mean, who lied? Who whitened or lightened up the pictures of Jesus and spread them all over the world to spread white propaganda? Who did that? I mean, I don't know, because I'm new to religion. I mean, my guess is the Vatican. Did the Vatican do it? Like, you tell me, who spread this white propaganda? If it's not real, are black people going to be upset? I think so. Rightfully so. They should have their place back. And whoever enslaved the black people should be held accountable. Liar, liar, pants on fire. This year has been so crazy so far. And it's just getting started. April 8th is coming up. That's the next thing. What's gonna happen then? What is gonna happen then? Oh, shoot. Something good. It's when we get our powers, from what I've heard. We might get our powers. We'll be able to manifest things whenever we want. We won't need money anymore. So we'll see.
Does this color stuff really matter that much? You see, we are all humans and it doesn't matter the color of one another. Good vibes, man. Ancient Israelite Cosmology. What is that now? Cosmology is a new word to me, man.
Dark-skinned biblical people. Here are 4 things you didn't know about the Russian Orthodox icons. Number 1, it's not a news. Here is Putin 2004. The ancient biblical Hamito-Semitic people, from Pharaoh to Moses to King David to Jesus himself, being dark-skinned of African descent is nothing unknown in the Orthodox Church. We who live in the West are so dominated by Eurocentric racist narratives, so it can be difficult to imagine that in the global South, the history of dark-skinned people is more known. Number 2, in June 2023, Russia transferred a few precious icons from a museum to a church. In this context, certain content creators started looking at the icons saying, "Oh, they're dark-skinned." Then they started trending 1 year ago, and now recently, 1 week ago, they started retrending. Number 3, when you read Western so-called science, dark-skinned people are described by Meinhof, Carl Jung, and others as primitive people. And all of their so-called theories based on the ultra-racist assumption of African primitiveness. Huh? We still primitive, huh? In your Bible, you are reading about our uncles. During those times, your uncles were in the Stone Age. Number 4, in these last days of the apocalypse, Akhirul Zaman, the truth of the lineages of the world will be revealed. Dark-skinned people are the Semites and the Hamites, and Western people are Japhites, i.e. not the people of the book.
Oh, man. This color stuff does not matter. You said that over and over again. You see? People tend to put like we are different because of color. No, we are all human. We should love one another and spread love. You see? And even try to understand the metallic animals like this one. Or is this one really? Is this some robot stuff? Or is just some insect that I've never seen? Because it looks creepy. It looks like it's made of iron or something like that. You see? How does it work? Or this guy made some caterpillar, an iron suit. For what? Do caterpillars also have wars or something like that? Oh, man. This makes me wonder and ask myself a lot of questions. Is this something that is made by humans or naturally occurring? I don't know. Please leave your comments one of what you see. And then there's Abraham's well, the home of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do you believe this was their home? Oh, they had some pretty amazing well there. You mean Abraham drank from that well? Oh, it's good vibes. How does that water from there taste? People that have been through there, good people of us watching. Are there even people watching that are from this place? Please leave some comment, you see, or is some place near you, or is in your country. You can tell us, have you ever visited it? This one looks pretty old. Hey, it looks like it has been there for ages. Look at the stone there around the wall. This is creepy, man. This one was by Father Abraham, the Father Abraham of many sons. That is nice. It's good vibes, man. You see, we are all descendants of Abraham. There's a story like that we were told when we were children. And if you are the descendants of Abraham, why don't you love?
Chi, psi, and stigma in the original language.
Guess what they think it is?
Yes.
They didn't know what these symbols were. So they thought they were Greek symbols. Then they began to evolve into, let's see, what do these symbols really mean? Why would there be 3 Greek symbols into the text? Why would God put 3 Greek symbols as a mystery? Well, God is not an author of mysteries, by the way. His yoke is easy. What they thought were symbols were in reality a different script than even the Greek. God is not interested in gematria. Gematria is the process of adding numerals regarding names. Maybe you take Hillary Clinton. H is number is this, and you know, and then you add it up, see if Hillary Clinton means 666, and maybe she's the beast. Maybe it's Gorbachev, so you add Gorbachev and you add 666. Gematria was a process that was used in witchcraft. God is not interested in this gematria stuff. Okay? So this developed, and then the translation started to put down 666 because they thought it was about the gematria. But if you look at the Codex Sinaiticus and the different codexes, they don't have 666. They got these symbols. Some even translated these symbols as 616, but it's not. When I first saw the Codex Vaticanus, I was literally shocked because I could read the text. It was Arabic. And as I look at it, it had these, what thought these symbols, this and this in a very kind of circular way, you know. And then you had this symbol, all right? Now this is an Arabic word. You can film it and then ask any Arab, what is that word? Bism, in the name of. And this word, you can ask any Arab what that word is. Bism Allah, in the name of Allah, was on that badge that people put in their foreheads as John documented what he saw on the godly video. God showed him. And that will be the symbol of Islam, which is the two swords. That is a symbol in Saudi Arabia. It's a symbol of... As a matter of fact, if you don't want to believe me, I urge you to watch a movie called Kingdom of Heaven. I don't like the movie, the outcome of the movie, that Salah ad-Din was a nice guy and the Crusades were the bad guys and that kind of thing. When he's sitting in a tent talking to the king, you will see at some point in time, pause it, when you see Salah ad-Din and his men with these badges on their arms. Because it says on the right arm, the arm is dexios. Dexios means arm and not specifically hand. The word for mark is karagma, Greek, which means badge of servitude. It's a literal badge, all right? Made out of paper, etching, cloth, that is put on the forehead, and on it is several things. It could be the name of the beast, the mark of the beast, the multitude of the beast, and being the name of the beast, declaration they already put on their foreheads, there is no God but, and Muhammad is the messenger. Or it will have Bismillah on it, and it will have the mark of the beast. It could be the crescent moon itself. All kinds of flavors that shows allegiance to the Antichrist.
Oh man, oh, there's creepy stuff all over.
Now let's have a look at the 80th parallel on a flat earth map. Huh, imagine that. The Antarctica turns into an ice wall. What you have to understand is that this is a Royal Navy ice patrol ship. And it is also an icebreaker, which means it can go places that no other vessels can go. Now, the only way that this Royal Navy ship is going to come looking for you in the ice is if you make it past the 60th parallel. And at the 60th parallel, you will be turned around by just your average Navy warship, whether it's China, America, Russia, whatever country you are close to. When you get to that 60th parallel, that country's Navy is going to send a cruiser or a warship out to turn you around. They are the first line of defense. The final line of defense is this Royal Navy ship right here. Now, I'm just showing you one. I'm not going to take up a lot of time showing you each one of these icebreakers, because there's an icebreaker for each territorial boundary of the 80th parallel, just as there's a warship for each territorial boundary of the 60th parallel. Okay, now let me help you understand that. On a so-called globe, this right here would be the 60th parallel south, and this is where the average Navy warship will turn you around and tell you that you are in maritime waters. Okay, now that you understand that, on a so-called globe, this right here would be the 80th parallel south, which is basically the whole coast of what you have been taught to believe as the Antarctica. And this is where the Royal Navy icebreaker ship will track you down. Now let's have a look at the 80th parallel on a flat earth map. Huh, imagine that. The Antarctica turns into an ice wall. And look at that. The 80th parallel is the perimeter of the ice wall which the Royal Navy icebreaker protects. And like I said, there is one of these icebreakers for each territorial boundary. I'm just showing you this one to give you an idea of how they patrol. Like I was saying, this Royal Navy icebreaker ship is designed to cut through this ice and come find you. You also have buoys on the ocean that have been there for a long time. And you can research this yourself. There are several sites, but for instance, right here, National Data Buoy Center. Now, if you'll scroll down a little bit, it gives you a map there with the red and yellow showing you where some of the buoys are, stations with recent data, stations with no data the last 8 hours. So yes, there are buoys stationed all over the ocean that transmits data. But anyways, check this out. Even if you can go under the radar of the Navy, they have these buoys that set off signals that will notify the Navy of your exact location. Here is a Google diagram of how it works. Just simple towers. The buoys are like towers on the ocean because the ocean is flat. So they send a signal to each one. And as soon as that signal goes off, when the waves get just a little bit rough, they know exactly where you are. And if you've ever seen a Navy radar, you would know that. Look at it. It's a flat, round disc. Shows the whole Earth. Now, I'm going to show you guys something. They even show you how they can find you without using radar. They hit it in the movie. Check this out.
Pearl Harbor here. We're approximately here. And they, whatever they are somewhere in the middle. We're trapped out here. What we know right now is we can't target them unless we have a plain line of sight. Without radar, we have no way to track them, correct? Correct. Okay, so they can't see us and we can't see them. And we have no way to hit them from a safe distance.
There is a way.
A way?
A way of seeing them without seeing them.
You're going to reference Art of War right now, aren't you? What are we supposed to do? Fight the enemy where they aren't? Move like water?
My way is much more simple. Water displacement.
How do you track water displacement?
Tsunami buoys.
Tsunami buoys.
You have them surrounding your islands, transmitting displacement data. We hack into their transmissions, form a grid.
You can't track anything without radar.
I don't need radar. Just the radio frequencies.
The hell is that?
It's a buoy. If it gets hit by a wave, it transmits a signal.
Bring up chart plot.
Chart plot. Bring it up.
So we can track without radar. We would practice it as a contingency plan.
Dirty, cheap, sneaky.
Rough world.
Like I said, the buoys are like towers. They give off a signal, people. So no matter where you are on that ocean, they know exactly where you are. These are the things that will happen to you if you get caught somewhere between the 60th and the 80th parallel in maritime waters under the Antarctic Treaty. We got boats disappearing, people getting killed, and this man right here got jailed and fined. Now think about that, people. Jailed and fined, boats disappearing, people getting killed, all because they're going over here to try to check out this big old snowy ice continent that supposedly don't nobody live on but some penguins. Think about that. Think about that. Now, I don't care whether you believe me or not. That's on you. I'm just telling you the facts. Anyways, let's move on. Now, let's say you can make it past this territorial boundary of the 60th parallel. Also remembering that you can only make this trip 3 months out of the year before the ice fields start closing in. So let's say you can make it that far and somehow get close to the 80th parallel, which is where the Royal Navy icebreaker will be on guard and patrolling. And now, let's just say you can get past that bad boy. If you do, then you have about 5 or 6 foot of ice that's frozen on top of the ocean water that you have to break through. And you have to break through miles of that ice before you even get to the real ice wall.
Personally, I think the unconquered south face is the only one worth scaling. It's a 20,000-foot sheer wall of ice, but that's never stopped me before. Risk? Of course I'm aware of the risks. Thank you for your concern.
So let's say if you can get past all the ice on the ocean and make it to the wall, then you have to find a way to get up the 200-foot wall, okay? Now, let's say you can get past all that. Then what you have is an ice desert that just goes on forever, filled with mountainy terrain and temperatures that are 150 degrees below zero. Now, if you can somehow make it past all that, you might find the firmament.
That's some scary stuff, man.
In the center of the North Pole. And it's the center of the Earth magnetic field, known as the Taurus field. That black thing in the center of the whirlwind is the tallest mountain on Earth, far more taller than the Mount Everest. It's so tall that even it peaks reaching out the clouds. It's the Rupes Nigra, or the Black Rock, also known as Mount Meru. Some people also called it Mount Zion. You wouldn't find this massive mountain existence in mainstream science and media because it's deliberately concealed. Because if the world knew that there is such a huge mountain in the center of the Earth, it would change the course of history. This includes the true nature of our world will be rewritten, and that will undo the globe-shaped Earth theory and the entire timeline of the Earth from the beginning, and they don't want that. Look how the wind stream passes through that mountain. It blocks the wind stream because of its height and size.
I'm not trying to come off like one of those crazy conspiracy theorists, but if the North Pole looks like this, what were our ancestors on? Like, how did they... Like, over and over again. This wasn't just one. Like, they kept drawing these 4 continents with 4 rivers. Like, maybe something to think about.
Oh, man. Hey, pretty of good stuff.
Question, do you believe in heaven? Various polls find that somewhere around 80% of Americans do. But a Harvard-trained brain surgeon wasn't so sure until he spent a week in a coma and came out with an incredible description of the afterlife. My co-anchor Terry Moran has a story.
A mild afternoon in Lynchburg, Virginia, and Eben and Holly Alexander are at a high school soccer game cheering on their 14-year-old son, Bond. They are a perfectly ordinary American family with an extraordinary story. They have been touched by a medical miracle and maybe more.
I mean, it was impossible after impossible after impossible.
Eben Alexander, a Harvard-trained neurosurgeon who was a skeptic when it came to religion, survived a near-death experience, and he now carries the memory of what he says was a journey to heaven, a journey that all his scientific training cannot explain. On November 10th, 2008, Eben awoke with a searing headache. When his wife Holly checked in on him, he was having a tremendous seizure.
And I said, say something. And he didn't say anything, so I called 911.
Eben was rushed to the hospital where he worked as a neurosurgeon.
The only word we could truly make out was help. And the rest of his verbalization was purely screaming.
Eben Alexander had been stricken with an extremely rare and virulent E. coli meningitis infection that was ravaging his brain, plunging him into a coma.
I mean, I was trying to die.
In fact, doctors gave him almost no chance to live and told his family if he did survive, he'd be brain damaged for the rest of his life.
His eyes were just off and cocked. It was just like no one was there.
Eben believes Holly is right. He wasn't there.
Did you go to heaven?
Yes. I mean, in every sense of the word, that's what my experience showed me.
His first recollection, he says, was being a speck of pure awareness in a dark and murky underworld.
And then I was rescued by this beautiful spinning white light that had a melody, indescribably beautiful melody with it, that opened up into a bright valley. Just an incredible, rich, ultra-real world of indescribable complexity.
God was there, he says, and he encountered him through an orb of brilliant light. He soared on the wing of a butterfly with a beautiful young woman as his companion, and the young woman gave him a message to take back from heaven.
You are loved, you are cherished, there's nothing you have to fear, There's nothing you can do wrong.
It's a beautiful vision, but heaven?
A lot of people are going to say, Doctor, it was a hallucination. Your brain got zapped by this disease, all the wires got crossed, and you saw a girl on a butterfly wing and you were spinning up in a melody.
I know this was not a hallucination, not a dream, not what we call a confabulation. I know that it really occurred, and I know it occurred outside of my brain. So basically,
But how? How can he even suggest that, much less claim that his experience is proof of heaven, as he's called his new book? He showed us his brain scan.
It wasn't leaving any part of my cortex unaffected.
So your conclusion is because all of this outer area, which is the higher functioning, was covered with the infection, what you experienced in the coma wasn't part of the brain.
Right.
Many neuroscientists are deeply skeptical of Eben's claims, arguing his brain must have produced his vision somehow, most likely as he came out of coma. But something else happened. After he recovered, Eben, who was adopted, saw a picture of a sister from his biological family who died years ago, a woman he never knew.
And I knew who my guardian angel was on the butterfly wing. It was the most profound experience I've ever had in this life.
Your sister, by birth, and from a family that you didn't know because you were adopted, who died several years ago, who you had never met, you saw while you were in coma.
Yes. And that was the key. That explained everything. Smells good, that's for sure.
Dinner time at the Alexander home.
Come, Lord Jesus, our guest to be, blessed.
They were not a particularly religious family before Eben's coma. He was a skeptic. Not anymore.
This proves that our soul, our consciousness, our spirit doesn't depend on the existence of the brain and body at all, and easily is actually freed up to a much higher state of knowing when it's freed from this body.
Oh my God, wonderful adrenaline. What do you think about that, doctor? You this good vibes guy here. This good some trapped there in some place here. This is wonderful. This is good vibes, man. And it's always nice to see humans doing gestures like this. Gestures of love towards the nature and towards one another. It's just nice, man. You see? See how this deer looks tensed up and is probably been stuck there for some days, you see? And it's wondering, oh my God, you mean these humans can also be this good, you see? Look at how it stands there in disbelief and hardly believes the human just let it go, you see? Oh, maybe it's just saying some short prayer for the human to be blessed, or what do you think, you see? Because this is lovely, man, this is good vibes. And this animal understood the intentions of this guy were pure and full of love, you see? You should always be like that. Wonderful address. Thank you very much for always watching these videos. Hitting the like button and leaving your comments there. It's very helpful, you see? Much love to yourself. And if you didn't catch my name there, maybe I'm your host, Y311H, you see? Good vibes all the way, man. Oh, this is nice. This guy here is one guy that should deserve some salute there, you see? And a lot of blessings. Oh, good people of earth. If you are always out there and you do good deeds every day, I wish you luck, you see? And may you never lack, you see? Blessings and peace to you and to your family. All the way, man. You are all wonderful. Those guys in the comment section. You see, those comments, they are really heartwarming. And they are helpful. And it's really encouraging when you do this stuff, you see? Lots of love and respect to yourself. Wonderful Adrian. If you have just clicked in today, it's your first time here, feel loved, respected, and welcomed here. Some double salute there for you because you're a wonderful soul. Hit the subscribe button there and be our member kindly, you see? Peace and love be with you. Till next time. Hold on, some 5 episodes will be coming soon. Bye bye.